You know the exact feeling. You push that cylinder closed, and the crane snaps into the frame with that tight, cold click. It is a tactile response that tells you the weapon is locked in and ready for the fight. But what sits inside those steel chambers is what we need to have a very serious conversation about today. We are dissecting a cartridge that brings an incredible amount of violence to the table. The .357 Magnum is not just some legacy caliber gathering dust in the back of the safe. It is an absolute man-stopper that has ended gunfights, defeated heavy barriers, and unfortunately caused unimaginable carnage when deployed by the wrong individuals. Look back at the tragic events of November 26, 2025. Out in Washington state, an active shooter utilized a .357 Magnum revolver to ambush a pair of National Guardsmen. The sheer kinetic energy of those rounds allowed the attacker to punch right through whatever improvised cover those guardsmen tried to utilize. It was a brutal, sobering reminder of what this cartridge is capable of in a public space. When you run a Magnum, you are managing brutal recoil, concussive overpressure, and a very real danger of sending a projectile through your intended target and into an innocent bystander. It is an unforgiving tool that requires a disciplined master mechanic behind the trigger. Let us get into the ballistic truth of this platform. I am going to break down the tactics, the history, and the reality of carrying this beast for self-defense, so you know exactly what it takes to run it safely. Forged in the Roaring Thirties. To truly respect this cartridge, you need to examine the tactical deficit that forced its creation. Let us rewind to the criminal underworld of the 1930s. Bootleggers, bank robbers, and organized crime syndicates were tearing across the country in heavy sedans made of thick Detroit steel. Law enforcement officers were severely outgunned. They were relying on standard .38 special revolvers, and those slow-moving lead round-nosed bullets were practically bouncing off car doors and heavy windshield glass. The good guys desperately needed a massive kinetic upgrade. The firearms industry answered the call, and in 1935, the .357 Magnum was unleashed onto the streets. The engineers essentially took the .38 special brass, lengthened it just a fraction of an inch to prevent it from chambering in older, weaker guns, and packed it with a massive spike in chamber pressure. Overnight, a patrol officer could wear a sidearm capable of cracking a V8 engine block or punching completely through a heavy vehicle door. It completely altered the landscape of law enforcement and defensive carry. It brought rifle-tier terminal ballistics down to a duty belt. This is exactly why seasoned gunfighters and wheel gun purists still trust their lives to it today. The ballistic apex predator. So why does this caliber still command so much respect on the modern range nearly a century later? Let us break down the undeniable tactical advantages. Massive kinetic transfer. First up is the sheer, raw velocity. When you launch a standard defense load out of a 4-inch barrel, you are easily breaking 1,200 feet per second. Drop down to a lighter bullet weight, and you are pushing speeds that cause massive hydrostatic shock in soft tissue. That translates to a very flat shooting trajectory, making it incredibly easy to stretch your shots out and ring steel at distance. When that hollow point connects, it dumps energy like a sledgehammer, expanding violently and dropping threats immediately. The defensive multi-tool. Second, we are looking at unmatched operational versatility. You can load up ultralight, fast-moving defensive hollow points for urban concealed carry, or you can drop in heavy, hard-cast lead flat noses for deep woods protection against apex predators. It adapts to your exact tactical environment like a Swiss Army knife. Mechanical precision. Third is the inherent accuracy of the platform. Revolvers feature a fixed barrel that is permanently mated to the frame. You do not have a slide cycling back and forth or a barrel tilting during the firing sequence. That rigid bank vault lockup delivers a degree of mechanical stability that will absolutely outshoot your own physical capabilities. Barrier-blind performance. Fourth, this round is a barrier-crushing machine. Heavy winter clothing, auto glass, sheet metal, and thick animal hide mean almost nothing to a well-constructed Magnum projectile. It digs deep and reaches vital organs when lesser calibers deflect or dump their energy entirely on the surface. controllable violence. Fifth, it offers an incredible balance of power and shootability. If you step up to a .44 Magnum, you are dealing with a violent, wrist-snapping recoil impulse that severely hinders your split times. The .357 Magnum brings serious heat, but a trained shooter can manage the snap and get the front sight back on target fast without completely blowing out their wrists. The tactical crossover. Finally, we have the ultimate training hack. Any cylinder chambered for .357 Magnum will safely chamber and fire standard .38 special ammunition. Because the older cartridge is shorter and runs at significantly lower pressures, you have a built-in sub-caliber training system. You can run high-volume, low-recoil drills at the range for a fraction of the cost, and then load up your premium Magnum defensive rounds when you hit the street. The lethal liabilities. We cannot discuss the sheer power of this round without addressing the extreme liabilities attached to it. If your fundamentals are sloppy, this weapon system will expose them instantly. The over-penetration trap. The number one hazard is over-penetration. The exact same barrier-blind capability that defeats car doors becomes an absolute nightmare inside a typical suburban home. If you deploy a Magnum indoors, that bullet is highly likely to pass completely through a violent threat, rip through several layers of drywall, and enter a neighbor's house. You have to own every single projectile that leaves your muzzle. This is not a toy. It is a massive legal and moral responsibility. Lessons written in blood. History proves exactly how devastating this penetration can be in close quarters. Look at the horrific FBI shootout in Miami on April 11, 1986. A heavily armed suspect named Michael Platt deployed a Mini-14 rifle alongside a .357 Magnum revolver. Even after sustaining fatal, unsurvivable wounds, Platt used that Magnum wheel gun to murder 2 FBI agents and severely wound 5 others. The terminal performance and deep penetration of his weapons during that specific engagement forced the entire federal law enforcement community to fundamentally rewrite their ballistic protocols. Sensory overload. Then you have to deal with the muzzle blast. If you touch off a full-power Magnum inside a dark hallway, the muzzle flash is going to look like a strobe light. It will absolutely wash out your natural night vision and leave you visually compromised. And the auditory exclusion? Firing this indoors without hearing protection is like setting off a chainsaw inside a closet. It will cause immediate, permanent, irreversible hearing damage. Trust me, one mistake without muffs indoors and your ears will ring for the rest of your life. Mastering the Magnum. So how do you harness this much power without becoming a liability to yourself and your community? Hypervigilance. Rule number 1 is extreme situational awareness. You must constantly scan and know exactly what is behind your target. If you are staging a Magnum for home defense, you need to seriously evaluate specialized frangible ammunition. Those rounds are engineered to dump their energy and break apart upon hitting hard surfaces, drastically mitigating the risk of zipping through walls and striking bystanders. The training matrix. Rule number 2 is building your fundamentals from the ground up. Do not buy a lightweight snub-nose Magnum and immediately start dumping full-power loads if you are a novice. Seek out professional instruction. Learn how to lock out your wrists and build a crush grip that manages the violent torque. A pro tip: always start your range sessions running standard .38 special. Ingrain your trigger press and sight alignment without the flinch-inducing recoil, and only transition to the heavy Magnum rounds once your mechanics are flawless. Sensory armor. Rule number 3 is protecting your command center. You need to invest in top-tier electronic hearing protection. These headsets allow you to hear range commands clearly while instantly cutting out the deafening roar of the gunshot. Whenever possible, conduct your Magnum training at outdoor ranges where the concussive pressure can dissipate outward instead of bouncing off indoor concrete baffles back into your skull. Your ears are your early warning system. Do not destroy them. The .357 Magnum is a legendary titan of the firearms world. It has earned its formidable reputation in blood, steel, and survival. When properly mastered, It is an incredibly effective, reliable partner for urban defense, backcountry carry, and serious range work. But if you fail to respect its raw power, things will go sideways in a hurry. I appreciate you stepping onto the range with me today to talk tactics and ballistics. I hope this breakdown gave you a rock-solid perspective on exactly what this classic caliber demands of a shooter. If you found this information valuable, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment down below. I want to know, what is your absolute favorite .357 Magnum wheel gun to run? Stay vigilant, train hard, and keep your powder dry.